Today I sit with Trish Doolan, who is not only my best friend, she is my chosen family, a blood sister, and the most courageous woman that I know. I'm really wanting to say that we're all afraid of getting the news that we have cancer. And I don't know anybody that hasn't been touched by it, either in their family or in their own bodies. Trish was open to sharing her story today. So we're going to have a conversation with what it's like to get the news that you're sick and how everything in that moment changes for you. And we'll cover the range of emotion, the sadness, the pain, but mostly the gifts that come from having this happen to you and the great gratitude. I am very humbled and honored to witness the gratitude that Trish finds and the joy that she seeks while she's going through navigating her own life moment by moment. So I'm going to start by asking you, my beautiful Trish, how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm really good. I'm having a good day. And I think you'll hear people who are going through chemo say that. Today is a good day, or today is a hard day, or it changes from day to day.
You know, when this happened to you, I didn't know what BRCA was, BRCA2. I knew that, Angelina Jolie had had her breasts removed to preempt
Yes.
getting sick, right? So
Because her mother died.
of that, of BRCA2. So, and I think it was sort of sprinkled in the public, but nobody really talked about it. So for our audience, talk about what BRCA2 is and why you, of all people, would opt to do this very aggressive thing in order to stay alive.
Okay, Angelina Jolie wound up with BRCA1, and I know from people who know her that she, as a young girl, watched her mother go through just a horrific time. So I never heard of BRCA2 until it was about 18 years ago, when my friend Jacqueline, who you know, she worked on April Shower with us, she came to me and said, Trish, I have to tell you something. I have this gene in my family, and a lot of the women have gotten sick or died, and my mother had this, and she said, and I would love if you took care of me and I could stay with you. And I said, well, of course, yes, absolutely. And I never heard of this, And she said, yeah, it's called BRCA2. And the BR is for breast, and then the CA is for cancer. And so it affects the breast and the ovaries and the fallopian tubes. So when you're diagnosed with BRCA2, if you've already had cancer like myself, then your chances of having a reoccurrence are so high. We're talking about almost 90%. So not only was I diagnosed with the BRCA2, but I had a cancer called triple negative cancer, which I never heard of before this day, which I happen to be with you and Norman right here, where we are. I found out I had the mass and I was with you, and I found out when I got the cancer, I was with you guys. Thank God, so that I was with you. But when they said triple negative cancer, I was like, oh, that's good, right? Because I was like, oh, that means
Negative.
no hormones, or because they were testing to see if it was hormonal cancer. And he said, no, it's not good. And it's very aggressive. Triple negative cancer hides in your cells, and then it duplicates way faster than just cancer. So when you have triple negative cancer, you could actually go in for scans and it won't show up, but it's there.
Wow.
It's tricky. I didn't understand what it was, so I still was in denial when I heard. I was like, okay, but that's not me. So I was already having a hard time with losing my breasts because I was very attached to them, I have to tell you. I loved my breasts. And my sister's like, as soon as she heard I had BRCA2, that was my first phone call, was to my sister.
Right.
And I'm sobbing. And I'm like, God, I have the BRCA2 gene. She said the moment she heard that, she said, I have it too. She just said to herself, I have it too.
And was there a chance she didn't have that? In other words, it's not a...
There's always a chance. It's 50-50. So with us, so far, 4 people have it. And my other 3 brothers haven't even been tested.
You know, when I think back to when this all happened to you and the range of emotions that you were going through and how you were navigating just the shock of it, and then it'll wash over you and then you get angry, and to see you 3 months later here today so strong and so resolved in your journey and where you're at, it's very beautiful.
There's this saying which I related to during this whole thing, which is snowfall, snowflake, snowball, snowman, avalanche, I'm buried. And it happens that quickly.
Yeah.
Because this was like a slow rollout. From the beginning, I didn't know that I would be ending up where I am, which is having to have 6 surgeries and chemotherapy. That was not even in my mind when I first got the news. And my mind was, oh, I caught this tumor really early. Lucky me. Mm-hmm. It's only 9 millimeters. It's encapsulated. And let's get rid of it and I'll be done. Yay! That's what I thought in the beginning. I was definitely traumatized. And then I started to see, now I look back and I could start to see where my denial was heavy on board, like kind of tricking me and saying, oh, no, not me. No, that's, oh, no, I'm not doing that. And oh, no, I never going to be getting chemo. And oh, no. But now that I'm like where I am, I'm like, wow, was I in denial?
Yeah. And also, if I may say, watching you go through that and watching everybody around you too also going through their own denial, myself included, right? How do you deal with it? How do you hold the space for somebody you love so much to not take away, not try to fix? Because watching and being, present as much as I could be with you, it made me more present in my own life. And it made me be able to not try to take away my own feelings about it, or not give you my feelings about it, and also not take away your feelings
Right.
in the moment. And it was a gift for me to be more present in my own life.
Yeah.
To be more present for you.
Well, this is important to talk about because there may be somebody watching today who either is in my position or in the position of a best friend, or it's their family member. And I had to really process a lot of this because I had family members in denial.
I bet.
I have friends in denial. And then it can come across as they do not care. It could come across as not showing up. It could come across as disappointment. And you're saying, oh my God, they're not there for me. The person who I thought would be there is not showing up. And so what I had to come to was having compassion for them. I had to learn how to have compassion and patience for their confusion and maybe, I don't know if incapability is the right word. I think when people are so close to you, the first thing they think is, what if you die?
Right.
Well, I'm not going to get closer to you now if you're leaving me, or I'm going to pretend this is not happening so that I can just go do whatever I'm doing and then hopefully it'll all work out. So I had to just say to certain people, can you just hold space for me?
You had to.
Mm-hmm. Can you just listen to me and not try to fix me? Because that's not your job. You can't fix me. and you can't make the outcome what you want it. I have to go through this. And there's a reason why they call it a journey. It is a journey, and it's a process. And I started to just hold love and compassion for those who I could feel and see couldn't be there for me.
And that's you. And that's your depth and all of the work that you've done on yourself gave you that ability to have compassion and also to recognize when somebody is doing that.
Yes, you can recognize
most people
it.
would be like, well, fuck, where are you? Or get angry, but you had compassion for it, which says a lot about you. And I want to honor you in that because
Thank
I
you.
think
Well,
it's hard.
you know what happens is when you do have compassion and love, the rewards and the gifts are amazing because the people who you didn't think or even know could or would be there are showing up in groves. And I mean, they're like, oh my God, I heard, Trish, what's going on? Right. What can I do for you? And I'm like, oh my God, I'm not even that close to this person. And then other people, like a friend of mine, when I had to have a double mastectomy, but my friend was like, you're not going to be able to lift. And I'm always cooking for myself and everyone. You're not going to be able to cook. So she set up a meal train that 45 of my friends signed up for. And I had people bringing me and sending me food every day. So here's people like that can't show up for me. And then these are new people in my life saying, I know you're not allowed to have anybody there for you. So when you wake up from the double mastectomy, I'm going to sneak out of my shift and I'm going to be there for you. Like, I get emotional talking about it, but this one nurse, Lisa O, she was like, I'm going to be there. So I wake up from my double mastectomy and Lisa's above me. And I'm like going, and I'm all drugged up and I'm like, what are you doing here? She's like, I told you I would be here. And I'm here. And she goes, I didn't want you to be alone. And I'm like, oh my God. And so all of these little magical miracles of like Jennifer showing up at my door, leaving mashed potatoes because through chemo I can't really eat that much and I'm like toasting peanut butter or chemo.
And those are good mashed potatoes.
And so like, you know, so what I started to do was look where all the gifts were instead of where they weren't. Right. Like, because you'll have disappointment, no doubt, about someone or something and what you thought might happen. But I was like, wait, let me count all the blessings and have gratitude for all that is happening to me and all the love I am receiving. And 3 different beautiful people in my life putting together fundraisers. The outpouring of love that I received is, I think, why I'm doing so well. I am so loved, and I can feel it deeply, and it just penetrates every cell in my body. The other beautiful people who struggle with, you know, their own issues, they'll come around when they come around, and I'm still loving them. I had to realize I can't go to the hardware store looking for milk, you know?
Right. And those people also, they know that they can't show up, so they're even punishing themselves on their own.
Yeah, which
you know?
I don't want that either.
Right.
You know, it's like, you know, hey, it's all cool. Because,
Yeah.
you know, I've had people just call me and say, hey, I don't even know what to say, but I'm here. And you could lead with that sentence. Like if you're watching now and you have a friend going through something, it's not your job to fix them, but offer your ear. Offer, can I bring you something?
Right.
Can I listen to you?
Right.
You
Because
wanna
it is an
just cry.
isolating thing too when you have this big thing that's a life and death situation. If you've never been through it, it's like you're in this bubble looking out at the world and everybody's going on their merry way and you're like, oh my God, yesterday that was me and now everything is different. Also because your whole life is about health.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I mean,
you are very holistically driven, and you're pure, and you are very careful to what you put in your body and just the way you live. So like, that seemed extra unfair, you know?
Yeah, oh, it really did. And my doctors assured me, they were like, Trish, this is not your fault. This is genetic.
Right.
But they all said to me, could you imagine where you would be, because you have triple negative, if you weren't so healthy? I could have come back stage 4, bilateral, over everything. But because I took such good care of myself, even to get it like, you know, if you get this in your 30s, it spreads really quickly. And they were like, said to my sister and I, you guys are lucky you got it in your 50s, you know, because it starts to slow down a bit, but the triple negative is relentless. They say with the hormones, we know how to stop that. With if it's estrogen, we know we do this. If it's progesterone, you do this. They said, but when it's triple negative, it attacks everything.
Wow.
And I said, once I do the double mastectomy, I'll be done, right? And I had to do the oophorectomy too, where they removed the ovaries. I said, I'll do these 2 surgeries, and then I'm walking out of here.
We all thought that.
So I get the double mastectomy. I wake up, like I said, beautiful nurse was there. The 2 other nurses that were taking care of me, they said, we don't like the way this looks. We're going to FaceTime your doctor. I had Dr. Holmes as my breast surgeon, and then Dr. Livia is my reconstructive surgeon. The dream team. I swear to you, my goodness. And my oncologist is Dr. Chang. Unbelievable. They're all at St. John's. It's become my new home away from. I'm a professional patient. I am at the hospital, I think, 4 times a week. It's just like,
I'm sure they love you.
So anyway, she comes there and she examines my left breast and says, I'm sorry, love, we have to go back in the OR. She said, you have a hematoma. So I was like, I looked up to God, which is, God has carried me through all of this, and I knew he wasn't going to drop me here. And I said, well, I trust these people. They've all been so wonderful. I just remember the feeling of such amazing trust. Like I was almost giggling because I was on Dilaudid. And I was like, she's like, you know, this surgery will be a lot shorter. But I literally bled so much that she wanted to give me a transfusion. But they were afraid because I had the tumor there initially, and they didn't know where it might have gone. And that's the triple negative. So I got my pathology back 10 days something later, and my doctor he just shook his head. He said, we need to talk. And I said, okay. He said, the cancer has metastasized to your lymph. So I felt like I just got hit in the gut again. So I was like, okay, I'm in. And they said it's very aggressive chemo. It's like some of the most aggressive chemo. So my whole therapy is called ACT. It's Red Devil and then Taxol.
So everything that you're going through, pretty intense and very extreme. And yet, as I sit opposite you, I see such strength, and I see a light in your eyes. And it's a light in your eyes that actually I don't think I've seen before. You always sparkle, Trishy, and you're always a light for people and in the world. But there's a light in your eyes now, and there's a strength, and there's a fortitude, but it's bigger than that. And so I want to know what you think that is, rising or has risen inside of you through this experience.
Well, once I got out of my denial, and it took a little bit, because I felt like I was running so fast, like maybe they won't catch me.
What were you running from?
I was running from death. And I was running from the fear of death. And I have faced death. And I had visualized my own memorial. I visualized all my friends there. I said, am I going to die, out loud? And then I needed to say, wait a minute. Instead of asking, am I going to die? Saying, I do not want to die. So I'm going to do everything not to die, including doing chemo, which I never thought. I was the person who's like, oh, if that ever happens to me, I'm going to go to the Gerson Center or Hippocrates, or I'll do juice cleanses for a year. But when you have triple negative cancer and it's metastasized, you don't fuck around.
You had to get real, really real.
So I said, okay, now, you know me and I've always done cleanses. You know me and I've directed movies. And what do I always say? I always say, well, I have to set myself up for success. So I made a chemo board. You've seen it. I started to do my reach outs to other people who've been through chemo. I have a whole chemo group that I've actually never even met them in person, but they're my go-to phone calls. They know what I'm going through. Then I have a breathing partner who you know is Ewan, my best friend in London. From the night I got diagnosed, he committed to be my breathing partner. We have not missed, unless I was in surgery, unless he had COVID, but we breathe every day. So when I found out about chemo, I upped it. And I said, I'm going to breathe with him at night, and I wake up and I breathe in the morning. I added in the laughing, you know, for 3 minutes a day.
Yeah.
Stella and I do the disco party. I make myself dance even when I'm feeling like, you know. I just completely remind myself every day of what am I grateful for.
Yeah.
I have to have gratitude. And because I feel like gratitude heals you. How much love, that I am so loved by so many. And I started to let myself feel it. But I started to receive, because I had a hard time receiving in my life.
Wow.
So receiving. So when Stella found out that I had to go through this and what just happened and it metastasized, and she canceled her trip to Bali and she said, I'm coming there to take care of you and I'm going to stay till the end. I was sobbing. So I was like, well, how do I receive that? And then I was like, wait a minute. This is your job right now, is to receive. How do you receive the fundraisers? Oh my God, people are throwing money at me. So the more I let myself receive and the more I found gratitude for it, the more the shifts started happening.
Wow.
I was sitting in chemo, and this was my 5th chemo treatment. And it was one that they told me it was going to take 4 hours. So I'm like, oh, I bet I have a tape on book. I better have a sandwich. And by the way, they tell you don't eat anything that you love because you'll never want to eat it again.
Wow.
Oh yeah. But they tell you that you'll get sick of that, and then you'll look at it and you won't even be able to eat it, or it smells like. On the Red Devils, I literally was sick the whole time. I couldn't look at a glass of water sometimes without wanting to, you know, throw up. That's how you feel. So this older gentleman comes in, and he literally comes right up to me, and he goes like this, like, you know, could I talk to you? So I take my headset out, and he says, I'm so scared. This is my first time. Can you help me? And I was like, I got you. I said, I got you. Sit right there. So he was sitting right where you are. And I'm across from him. And I said, I was you. I said, and I want to honor you for making yourself so vulnerable to ask for help. And I said, you're not going to get sick today. I said, I thought that too. I said, and these nurses they're so qualified, and they're the A team here. They're going to take care of you. They're going to do everything to make this comfortable for you. So we start talking for 2 hours. And he's saying, how did you feel when you got the news that you had cancer? How did you feel? And then the other guy was chiming in, and we were talking about our experience. And he said, isn't it scary? And even after I do the chemo, and he was talking about that, so I started sharing about my story, and he was like, this is the happiest 2 hours I've had in so long. And then the woman in the back came and said, I just need to tell you, I was listening from back there and like you made my day. And she said, because you were talking about love and you were talking about the gifts and like how you're, you know, grateful and she's like, I hope you share about this. And then the guy was saying, can I have my chemo with Trish next time? And then the other guy, Juan, was like, yeah, can I have my chemo with Trish?
It's a chemo party.
And I was laughing, and then the nurses were like, well, yours are like every 3 weeks, and hers are more often, so we can't get you, like, you know. But what it did was it made me see that I have to share the good stuff, because everybody going into chemo is terrified because it's the unknown. They've never gotten it. And, you know, we've all seen movies where the person is like throwing up and sick as a dog and skinny. By the way, I've gained 10 pounds on chemo.
Really?
Just so you know, yeah. So it's like, that's a lie that you're gonna lose weight on chemo. You can't have any raw vegetables. You can't have salad. You can't have
Why is that?
sushi. Nothing raw.
Because it could have a bacteria?
Well, that's one reason, but also you can't. You get such
can't
bad
digest
heartburn.
it.
You
Oh.
get such bad heartburn. So, I mean, one night I had to call the emergency line because I couldn't even lay down flat. I had such bad heartburn. It was coming, my throat was like, I felt like an ulcer was
So
exploding.
did you ever think, like, when you're going through it, like, this can't be right, like something's wrong, or they just say, listen, it's gonna suck and it's gonna be very extreme and that's it, and you don't have to call me every
You'd be
10
a
minutes.
great doctor. This is going to suck. No, so what they do say, you have a thing called chemo education. They gave me 40 pages, and they will tell you to read, and you'll learn about all the side effects. So when I got that 40 pages, I handed it to Stell, and I said, you hold on to this, and if like my toe falls off, I'll say, hey, is this a side effect? Because I don't want to know the side effects. You know why? I'm very creative.
Yes, you are.
And I don't want to make up like I'm going to get all of these things. You know, the first one I had terrible like skin rashes and these like scabby things everywhere. You get mouth sores, tongue sores. So there's some of the big ones I knew about, but I didn't want to know everything.
Right.
Because it you know,
Right.
my
Me
mind,
too.
I'm writing
Me
screenplays.
too.
Yeah. That's why I love doing the laughing exercises. And I would say to Stell, if I'm in that bed too long, or if I'm laying down, you come and put on ABBA, Dancing Queen, and like we get up and
Yeah, she's
even if I
amazing.
can't move too much, I'm like doing a funny dance or whatever. But I said, you have permission to play with me and like make fun of me. And because I feel like you need that too. You have to add levity to the situation.
Absolutely. I mean, looking at you, and you know, I read auras and I can see energy, and I mean, vital beyond measure.
My oncologist said to me, I'm so impressed with you during chemo. She said, I just, people, they just don't do as well as you're doing. And, you know, so I want you to know how well you're doing, even though you had terrible pain last time, because I had all this.
But you went into it, I'm sorry to cut you
Yeah.
off, but you went into it like, I'm gonna do well. And you were even like, I'm not gonna lose my hair. And you know what? You didn't lose it for a while.
Yeah,
Right?
I didn't
But
lose
look
it right
how-
away.
but you went into it going, I'm gonna do it the best that I know how. And you know, that's not easy to do when you're terrified. That's not easy to do when you're gonna be putting something in your body that is harmful to your body, is gonna kill your immune system. All the things that you would never do, but you held steady in that.
Yeah, we are dealing with poison. We're putting poison in. And I did write a letter to my chemo. I wrote a love letter to my chemo. And I thanked the chemo for existing, because who knows how much longer I would have been here, honestly, because with the triple negative, the way it divides, it already metastasized. And so I bless that chemo and thank God for it.
Didn't you put hearts on it?
I did. Well, on my chemo board, I spelled chemo C-H-E, and then the M, I made a heart out of the M.
And then you
and
put
then
something
O.
on the bag itself, right? Didn't you?
Well, I
try?
put, that's a good point. You know what I make them do? I bring a Sharpie to every chemo session. and then I say, can you give me the bags before you hang them? And then I write on them. And I write, love magic, love potion, I love you. I literally talk to the chemo, like I meditate as it's like running through me and talk to it and tell it to go do your job. Just go to all the places. If it's hiding anywhere, go get it, go get it, go get it. And then I want you to leave, you know?
So that's using your creative mind,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
And directing your creative mind.
Yeah. So the nurse on my 4th Red Devil treatment, she comes in and she looks at my chart and she's like, oh, this is your 4th. And I go, yeah, my 4th one. Hey, what's your name? Da, da, da. And I'm talking to her. She goes, aren't you exhausted? I said, nope, not at all. I have plenty of energy. And she goes, but I don't understand. She goes, people who do this are so tired right now. Like by the 4th one, and I said, I have a lot of energy and I do a lot of supplements. And as you said earlier, it's not easy getting up every day and then I have everything lined up on the counter. And
I still miss days with my little elixir that Trish gives me. I put like 15 things in my coffee, and I'm like, when she first did it for me, I'm like, I'll never do that.
I think that drink has helped me through this so much.
I actually feel better that I take all that stuff.
Yeah,
I do.
yeah.
I do, even though I'm sweating my
So
balls
imagine
off.
that drink
Right.
plus, the Folkerdan.
Okay,
Yeah.
let's talk about that for a second.
Okay.
Okay, so Folkerdan mushrooms, they come from Japan.
They come from Japan.
Okay, and how much do you take? Why do you take them? How do they help you? Because I actually think that's even something.
I think that
Right?
has
Because you've
played
been religiously taking, see, all of this.
major factor.
You know, and it's lovely to live in LA where we have access to a lot of things, but I think just education, talking about it, communicating, streaming, letting people know that there's so many things they can do to, assist themselves. Anyway.
Yeah, no, so the way I found out about that is one of the people who turned me on to it, her husband was given no chance to live. Like, get your affairs in order. And he had colon cancer that had metastasized to his liver, and he had over 200 tumors. So they said 8, 9 months, da-da-da. She said, they were looking at me like, oh, poor thing, you're going to be a widow like that. And she said, well, I'm going to do everything I can. Like, she quit her job, and she just became a researcher. So there's a board where it says radical recovery. The people who weren't supposed to recover, they're on this board, and they all put what they did on that board.
Wow, what a resource.
So you start to see where are the commonalities of how this radical recovery.
Where do you find that board?
It's online. And Folkerdan mushrooms kept popping up.
Wow.
She started to research this and then even was calling people who did the Folkerdan mushrooms, and 20 years later, and they're still cancer-free, blah, blah, blah. And it's not just the Folkerdan mushrooms, it's mixed with seaweed. And I started doing my research as well. That's when you helped me because I couldn't afford to get all I did. So you did the fundraiser, and we raised enough money for me to get enough. The Folkerdan mushrooms, not only do they kill cancer even without chemo, but they attack cancer. But they also it's so potent and healthy for your body that it actually mitigates side effects. So that's why I 2 a day since a month before chemo started. So I would say that that's helping.
Yeah, I'd say.
Yeah.
So when you're on the other side of this and you're very close to being, how does life look and feel to you?
What I already know is that I don't have time for bullshit anymore. And I however that sounds, it's like,
What
maybe
do you
it's
mean by
just
bullshit?
the little stuff.
The stories people tell
little-
themselves and they talk about incessantly?
Yeah, and just you really start to see what's important and what's not. And I could tell you a larger percentage that you have been thinking is important is what I'm talking about. The main thing is unconditional love. to me, that's the most important thing on this planet. And that is why I'm talking about being of service and giving love. Because from that, everything else comes anyway. Whether you're looking for, whatever career or whatever relationship, like people think a relationship is, if only I had a relationship, then that would make everything right.
Right.
And I mean, there's so many people like that.
Yes.
And
Yes.
boy, that's a huge wake-up call, because
It is. It is.
all you got to do is be unconditionally loving to yourself first. And then I'm telling you, it's like amazing how everything just it is laid out before you. And what's important starts to like appear for you.
Beautiful.
It starts to appear because you have really understood.
It gives you a very particular perspective
Yeah,
about life
yeah.
that unless you've gone through it, things that you obsess about, you
Oh my
still
God.
kind of obsess, no matter how far advanced you've come, in your development. Life and death,
Yes.
that
That's-
kind of view is very particular and changes everything.
And you know what, when you really break it down,
Tell me, Trish.
the simplest things
Tell me.
are the gifts.
That's right.
But I'm saying when you get really down to the bare bones about what's important, it's about human connection, but like unconditional, not like, oh, what can you do for me? Or, oh, who's this person? And, oh, is that going to be a relationship for me? Like my mind, like, it's just like, it's so interesting. Like I will show up, I shop at Erewhon a lot, okay? And this is another thing that makes me cry. I know these guys like they're family members. I've been going there for years. So I walk in with my bald head, and nobody knows what to do. They're like looking at me like, are you okay? And like, then I would like privately like say to them, well, I got diagnosed and da da da, and then I had to do chemo, and they saw my head and they were like, we haven't seen you in so long, are you okay? And I told them, and they were like holding me, walking me to the door. You're in our prayers.
It's beautiful.
The guy at the produce, they're hugging me. The guy behind the counter serving the hot food said to me, listen to me, you got this. He said, you're glowing and you're ready through this. And then he said, my nephew had to go through this. And he said, I shaved my head when he needed his shaved. He said, he's 22 years old now and cancer never came back. And these are not even like what, I don't want to say they're not my friends, because they're guys at the grocery store who are invested in my well-being. How loved am I? So I look at that. Like, I don't look at who's not showing up. I look at, wow, look at all the people that have shown up. That's what I look at. Because I no longer count what I don't have.
That's so beautiful.
I only count what I'm looking at, and then I go, how grateful am
and
I?
then you create more of it.
Well, yeah.
Because whatever you focus on, you add to.
I've said this sentence before, and you've heard me, and I always said, always, like, I'm the luckiest person I know.
Yeah.
Should I stop saying I'm the luckiest person I know? Like, should I just curl up and go, why me? Because, that is what you can do. And you're entitled, because you feel like,
why me?
Why is this happening to me? And especially if you did everything right, never smoked. So I had to go, do I change my mind because this happened? No.
Yeah.
I got to look at, God bless that I have insurance that actually covered all the doctors I wanted.
Very fortunate.
I got every doctor I wanted. You know, how lucky am I?
Yeah.
That's got to go on my gratitude
Yeah.
list. I go home and I have a bed to sleep on with cozy pillows. I'm in the car driving, and the guy next to me at the red light, do I know that he didn't just get bad news about his wife or child or himself? You just don't know.
You don't know.
So I am so grateful every day just for walking the planet. And that because when you get this happening to you, you do question, how much longer am I going to live?
I'm glad you brought that up, because a mutual friend of ours I was expressing how scared I was,
and I don't know how to deal with it, and I don't know, want to bring that in. And he said to me wisely, he said, you know, you have to, in order to have a real choice, you have to have options, but you also have to put out what can happen, what's possible to happen.
Right.
Because then you're really dealing in the reality of the situation, and only when you deal in the reality of the situation can you actually change the situation.
Yeah.
Can you create and mold it and change the situation? So that was a big piece for me. So I think you got real. I think you got really real at one point. And I feel like it was around the time that you were dealing with the loss of your potential loss of your hair.
Right.
And then you went, what am I doing? I'm obsessing about this when I could die.
Right.
And then you went, and then it sort of felt like something kind of shifted
Yeah.
there. And I thought, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Now we're dealing with life.
Yeah. I remember that conversation we were having about my hair because, you know, I was really in my ego about my hair. And I had identified myself with like my beautiful hair. Oh, I've modeled with my hair and I've done hair commercials and everybody's always talking about my hair.
Yes.
And I was laying in bed one night. I distinctly heard God's voice. And this was what was whispered in my ear. And this is where then everything changed for me. He said, you only think you're beautiful because of your hair, but I'm going to show you, you don't need your hair to be beautiful. And I was done with worrying about my hair. And I was like, I'm letting it go.
Ah, so beautiful.
Letting it go.
Powerful, powerful. And then that warrior, you
Yeah.
know, that goddess warrior just kind of took over and you're just in it.
And I
now.
let go of everything. I let go of, oh, I gained 10 pounds or whatever because I get to live.
I get to breathe.
I get to live and I
Another
open my
breath.
eyes every day. Even when I'm in pain or if I'm having side effects, I go to gratitude. I can be sick. I could be having terrible, terrible muscle pain. And no matter what, I'll go, oh, the chemo's working. The chemo's doing its job. Okay, this is a tough moment. This is a tough moment, but it's working. It's working. And then those moments pass. Because I was raised, I
know
was
how you were
raised by an
raised.
Italian mom. God bless my mother. I was a child model. I was, plastered all over magazines, toy boxes, billboards, da-da-da. So I was tortured. Look at your hair, you look terrible. I would be going to the gym for God's sakes. I'm about to go sweat. And my mother would be like, you got to put on makeup, all the girls get dressed up to go there. I said, Ma, I don't care about all the girls. I'm going to sweat right now. Leave me alone. No, don't come see me if you're going to look like that. So I had this whole very, very warped persona.
I get it.
Like
Get it.
I sometimes if like I would look in the mirror and if I had like something out of place, I'd be, oh, I can't go tonight.
Yeah.
Because how could I, Trish, be seen like this? Boy, is that gone.
Isn't that
That is
sobering?
gone. I mean, I've been going out with like puffy lips because I had sores here. My whole skin rash, I couldn't, like I had little things all over my skin from the chemo, no hair, feeling fat. And I would just be like, I don't care.
Because you're the spirit inside
Yeah,
of you is
like,
what
right,
animates you.
right. It's like, okay, was it just about your hair, Trish? Like,
Yeah.
do you think that somebody was just gonna say, so I
I do. I totally do. My mother's 98 and she's getting ready to leave this earth, and all she can say to me is, "What's happening here? You gotta go check at the doctor. Go to the doctor." I'm like, "Mom, I'm just fat. I'm just fatter than when you saw me last." But she's convinced, and that's what she's looking at. I'm like, "Oh my God, I didn't realize how much
we have the same mother.
we have."
Yeah, but the thing is, and that like dysmorphia that
Totally.
we have, something like this happening is a great way to heal it, because I could tell you, I just don't care about that anymore.
Powerful stuff.
And I mean it. And I mean it. I am hoping that from now on that people can see in here is what I'm selling these days. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because, you know, I'm not looking for anything else. I'm not interested in anything else. And I don't have guilt over anything or anyone. If somebody doesn't understand how I'm feeling and I don't care, I just don't care. And thank God, boy, was
I
that
mean, seriously.
that was so draining.
That's so huge.
I
Just
don't
like you're
care who-
dancing as fast as you can,
I
and
don't
you're not
e-
going anywhere, and it's
Oh
exhausting.
my God! Like I don't care who. If somebody doesn't like me, okay, that's fine. It's okay. And I mean, and that's beautiful.
And I'm going to tell you what else it is. It's inspiring. You are so inspiring.
Thank
Risen in such a way that it's humbling. And I don't know that I would come close if I was in this. I don't. And that's okay.
Well, yeah.
But you give me something to strive for. And I love you very much.
I love
And
you.
I'm really
And the
happy
thing
that you're
is,
in my life.
because I did this, you don't have to go through it. So you just
love
get
you
to
more.
take it all, and you know, and that's what I say to everybody around me. You know, it's like, hey, if I had to take the hit for all my loved ones, I'm cool with that.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for sharing your heart. Thank you for sharing your energy. Thank you for sharing your humor. Thank you for sharing your beauty. Thank you for sharing your friendship.
You're welcome, and right back at you.
Thank you. Thanks for joining us, everybody.